My name's Zio, and welcome once again to another Coffee with Zio. The tone here is going to be a little bit different. We're just going to jump right into it. So, Rieko Kodama. Longtime Sega fans likely recognize that name. Well, Kodama-san, or Phoenix Rie as she is known in some credits, is no longer with us. Turns out this happened all the way back in May, and the rest of the world is just now finding out about it. So the Mega Drive Mini 2 came out the other day, and they snuck in a little tribute message. Someone on Twitter caught it and tweeted at Yosuke Okunari saying, "Whenever someone says in memory of, it means that person's passed away." Then Okunari-san replied, "As you understand it, we respected her. So out of respect for her family, they kept it on the DL until now." If you're not familiar with her, she was one of the most influential women in the video game industry. Kodama-san was born in 1963 in Yokosuka. She had an interest in arcade games like Space Invaders and Galaxian. She was really into graphic design, but then she was also into archaeology. Well, this led to her flunking out of college. After that, she went to trade school for advertising and design, and the video game industry started to catch her eye. She started working at Sega back in 1984 when the home console market was still very much in its nascent years. She was a character designer for a number of games early on like Champion Boxing, but most people remember her for her work on the original Phantasy Star. This was during the JRPG Gold Rush, kicked off in 1986 by Enix's Dragon Quest, and of course Sega wanted their piece of the pie. Kodama-san was the lead artist for that project, designing all the characters and environments. She was a huge fan of the Star Wars movies back in the day and wanted to incorporate that in her designs, so it had a nice blend of sci-fi and fantasy with dragons, lightsabers, guns, and medieval clothes. She wanted to buck the medieval swords and sorcery trend established by Dragon Quest and other Western RPGs like Ultima and Wizardry. She also wanted to have a female protagonist, which wasn't exactly commonplace back in the day. If a game had a female character in it, more often than not, she was the damsel in distress. Phantasy Star would turn that on its head. Here you have this badass young lady who goes on a quest to overthrow a corrupted king who had her brother murdered for sticking his nose where it didn't belong. On this journey, she meets three other companions that are very different from her, and they uncover something far more sinister. She designed the main characters, Elise and Lutz, aka Noah. Someone else did the other characters and the monsters. She's even said in interviews that she wasn't comfortable designing big bulky male characters like Odin, aka Tyrone. She always liked creating characters that came together for a common cause regardless of gender, species, or homeworld. She was also the lead artist for Phantasy Star 2 and would go on to be the director of Phantasy Star 4. She did help out with the early planning of Phantasy Star 3. She also did artwork for Alex Kidd, Altered Beast, and the first two Sonic games. She was also director for the Sega Saturn game Magic Knight Rayearth, based on the popular manga. She was also involved in every aspect of that game, including sales and marketing. She then went on to become producer for Skies of Arcadia, which initially got its start on the Saturn. Eventually that project shifted to the Dreamcast because it was too much for the Saturn to handle. Skies of Arcadia didn't rely too much on cutting-edge graphics and CGI FMV because Kodama-san felt it took too much control away from players. If you remember a lot of RPGs from that era, especially from Squaresoft, they made heavy use of CGI movies. You know, those big, long, unskippable FMV sequences. Phantasy Star and Skies of Arcadia were her two favorite projects. Her last notable work was producing the 7th Dragon series. Kodama-san is recognized as one of the first female game developers. That was a huge deal back in the day, especially the game industry. We see a lot more ladies in gaming thanks in no small part to her efforts. Nintendo Power called her the First Lady of RPGs. Another fun fact about Kodama-san is that her favorite game was Final Fantasy IV. Initially, this video was going to be about Ordinal Tower and my thoughts on the changes brought to NGS this past month, so I guess I'll go ahead and share my thoughts here. I like it. To further elaborate on that, NGS has always needed decent mid-range endgame content that offers decent rewards. The only real critique I have here is, while I like the choose-your-own-adventure aspect of it, this can be kind of annoying in pugs. Another nitpick I have is I wish there were different types of bosses. Like, did they forget there are different enemy types besides dolls? So yeah, more mid-range content with decent rewards, please. So yeah, pour one out for the First Lady of RPGs. Arigato, Kodama-san. As always, thank you so much for watching and for the continued support. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. And remember, to thine own self be true. Until next time, farewell.